Most people mistake a shiny driveway for a massive net worth, but in 2026, the quietest cars often belong to the loudest bank accounts.
Consider Julian, who pulls into his executive suite parking garage every morning at 8. 47, sharp behind the wheel of a deep onyx Mercedes Julie. He started leasing just under a year ago.
That monthly drain is exactly $8, $139 over a 3-year commitment.
He slides into the most prominent space near the lobby doors, not for ease of access, but because that German SUV is clearly visible from the glass, walled boardroom where his department gathers.
Every Monday, Julian is a senior marketing director. His annual salary is $94,000.
When prospective partners arrive for meetings, he purposefully guides them past the vehicle, treating the lease like a high end business card wrapped in chrome and debt he can scarcely manage.
Meanwhile, Elena pulls into the far edge of that same garage at 8:22. She operates a 2020 Honda Accord she purchased owned 3 seasons ago for $22,400 in total.
There is a tiny scuff on the side door she ignores because it has zero impact on the mechanical performance.
Elena is the company's director of logistics. Her yearly compensation is $112,000. Julian's actual net wealth is roughly $17,000.
That figure accounts for high interest plastic, the ongoing lease burden, a personal loan used for a tropical getaway, and a retirement fund holding $8,200 that he barely touches.
Elena's net worth has surpassed $1 million. Julian projects wealth. Elena possesses it. They share an office building.
Their salaries are comparable, yet the chasm between their economic lives is defined by decades of opposing choices.
That divide is most obvious in the asphalt lot every single morning. One prioritized the image, the other prioritized the outcome.
The vehicle was where their paths diverged. This video explores why the truly affluent in this country almost universally choose transportation that would shock the average observer.
It isn't that they lack the funds, it is because their internal logic regarding capital is so vastly different from the public's that a car becomes the ultimate indicator of the mindset that
generated their fortune. Let's analyze the data. The typical price paid by millionaires for their most recent vehicle was approximately $31,367.
For those with a net worth exceeding $10 million, that number only rose to $41,957. These statistics originate from Thomas Stanley's massive research project on the American wealthy.
To provide perspective, the median price for a new vehicle in today's market has soared past $48,000.
This implies the typical consumer is spending significantly more on a depreciating asset than the average millionaire.
A study by Experian revealed that 61% of individuals earning above $250,000 annually choose brands like Ford, Toyota, or Honda.
wealthy people use money to buy freedom, not just high-end labels, 61%.
These are families bringing in $250,000 who could easily purchase a luxury SUV, yet the vast majority commute in a Civic or a truck.
Only 39% of these high-income earners opted for premium luxury badges. The most frequent brands among millionaires are Toyota, followed by Honda and Ford.
Mercedes only ranks 4th. BMW is 5th. Just 23. 5% of millionaires owned a car from the current production year.
According to the research, over half were driving machines older than 2 years. The typical millionaire operates a vehicle roughly 4 years old with over 40,000 miles on the clock.
They aren't avoiding luxury because they are broke. They are avoiding it because they recognize a financial truth that most people have been conditioned to forget.
Outside of your home, a vehicle is the most aggressive wealth-destroying tool in the modern economy.
Unlike a house, which generally grows in value, a car begins bleeding equity the second you drive it off the lot.
A fresh vehicle sheds nearly 20% of its total value within the initial 12 months.
By the 5th year, roughly 40% of the value has evaporated.
By year 7, most models are worth less than 1/3 of the original sticker. The median monthly car payment in America reached $767 late last year.
Countless people are now locked into bills exceeding $1,000, terms stretching to 84 months. 7 full years of debt are becoming the new standard.
This means millions are paying for a machine that is worth less than the loan balance for the majority of the time they own it.
They are trapped underwater. They are sending this capital to a bank every month instead of feeding an investment that actually grows.
Let's look at the math because the math is where the truth gets painful. Julian leases his SUV at $839.
Over his 36-month contract, he surrenders $3,204. At the end of the term, he owns nothing.
He hands the keys back and signs a new agreement because reverting to a modest sedan would feel like a social failure. He will likely repeat this for 30 years, paying nearly $800 monthly for something he never truly possesses. Melina bought her Accord for $22,400 with savings. She will keep it for 8 years. Her total cost, including upkeep, insurance, and the original price, averages out to about $330 monthly.
After 8 years, the car still has value. She sells it for $9,000, buys another reliable used model for $23,000, and restarts the clock. The monthly gap between Julian's lifestyle and Alina's reality is roughly $500, just $500.
If you put that difference into an index fund returning 8% over 30 years, that capital swells to roughly $745,000.
Look at that figure again, $750,000. That isn't a theory.
That is the mathematical result of the distance between a $800 payment and a $300 cost of ownership compounded over a working life.
It is the difference between retiring with total peace or retiring with total stress.
It is the gap between freedom at age 60 and working until 75 because of a machine sitting in your driveway that you bought to impress people you don't even like.
Alina's $1 million net worth wasn't a fluke or a gift. Nearly 88% of American millionaires are first-generation wealthy.
Alina is the standard. She built her fortress in the space between what she earns and what she consumes.
The car is simply where she guards the largest portion of that space. Her vehicle strategy alone accounts for roughly $600,000 of her total wealth.
Over half of her net worth came from one recurring choice she made decades ago. Studies show that 94% of millionaires live consistently below their means.
Only 31% ever averaged 6-figure salaries. 1/3 of them never even earned $100,000 in a single year.
The most common careers for these millionaires were accounting, teaching, and engineering.
Teachers, often viewed as underpaid, appear on Millionaire lists more often than high, and surgeons because the job doesn't dictate the wealth. The margin does.
And the car is where most people destroy their margin. I am not a financial advisor, but I want you to see why the car is the specific category that separates the wealthy from the struggling more effectively than anything else.
There are 3 core reasons. The first is pure scale. A car bill is usually the second largest drain on a household after the mortgage.
Spending $767 monthly is more than many spend on food or their entire retirement contribution.
When this one-line item is bloated by $400 or $500 above what is required for safe travel, that waste cancels out every other good habit.
You can cut your coffee, stop eating out, and cancel every streaming service, and those savings won't even touch the damage of a massive car note.
The car is the boulder. The lattes are just sand. Most gurus talk about the sand because it's easy.
The boulder is where the fortune is made. Second is the time frame. Unlike a fancy meal or a jacket, a car note lasts for years.
72 months, 84 months, it is a persistent extraction from your future that runs on autopilot. Because it is automatic, your brain gets used to it. After a few months, you don't feel the pain. It just feels like a cost of existence, but it isn't a fixed cost.
It was a choice you made one afternoon at a dealership that now robs you of $767 every month for 7 years while the asset dies.
Third is the social weight. No other purchase carries the same identity burden. Your car is witnessed by your coworkers, your neighbors, and your family.
It tells a story about your success. That story is usually a lie, but the world believes it. The world sees a luxury badge and assumes prosperity.
They see a 5-year-old Toyota and assume struggle. The social pressure is so high that most people would rather be broke in a status symbol than wealthy in a boring sedan.
Julian is that person. His Mercedes costs $839 plus $347 for premium insurance plus higher fuel costs.
His total burn is over $200 on a $94,000 income. That is 15% of his gross pay going into a hole in the ground.
Experts suggest keeping travel costs under 10%. Julian is 50% over that limit every month. Elena's total cost is roughly $480.
On her salary, that is only 5%. The difference between 5% and 15% is about $8,300 every year. That is a yearly wealth transfer from Julian's future to the leasing company and the insurance firm.
Elena takes that $8,300 and feeds it into the market until the numbers on her screen look like a phone number.
There is a specific group of millionaires called used vehicle shoppers. They have the highest frugality scores and the highest wealth to income ratios in existence.
This means for every dollar they earn, they keep more of it than any other group. They weren't frugal because they were rich.
They were rich because they were frugal. The car wasn't a sacrifice, it was the engine of their wealth.
Consider the titans of industry. Warren Buffett famously drove a Cadillac he bought with hail damage because he didn't care about the dents.
Mark Zuckerberg drives a Volkswagen. The founder of IKEA drove a 1993 Volvo for 2 decades. These aren't stunts.
These are the behaviors of people who view a car as a tool, not a trophy. The moment it becomes a status symbol, it becomes a liability, not just to your wallet, but to your mind.
You are now making choices based on the opinions of strangers. Spending in anticipation of wealth makes you a slave to your salary, even if that salary is high.
Trying to look rich is the fastest way to stay poor. Julian drives the Mercedes because he thinks he's on the way to wealth.
But the car is what's blocking the path. He is acting out the finale before he's even finished the first act.
I know the objection. I need reliability. A cheap car will break down. Let's kill that myth. Consumer data shows that brands like Toyota and Mazda are the most durable on earth.
A 2020 Camry for $20,000 will last 200,000 miles. These aren't junkers. They are engineered to outlive your loan.
The sweet spot is a 3-year-old car that has already taken its biggest value hit. A study found that most people think you need a $75,000 car to be rich.
In reality, 90% of actual millionaires would fail that test. They don't drive what the public thinks they drive.
Let's look at a 30-year comparison. Person buys a $48,000 car every 6 years with a massive loan.
Over 30 years, they spend nearly $200 just on the purchase prices. Person B buys used for $22,000 and keeps them for 8 years.
They spend $60 over the same period. The savings is $140,000, but the invested difference is nearly $1 million.
That is why the wealthy drive $30,000 cars. It isn't about being cheap. It's about math. This is an identity anchor.
Car is the most visible way we show our status. The irony is that the person in the modest car is likely the one with the high net worth.
But we evaluate health visually, so the wealth builder looks average and the wealth destroyer looks successful.
The world gives Julian compliments that cost him $839 a month. Elena gets no compliments, but her account grows 8% every year.
The wealthy have realized that the compliment economy is a scam. Julian is 34. If he changed his ways today, he'd have $873 zero more by retirement.
Elena is 47. Her car fund alone is worth $368,000. She retires in a decade. Julian will work until he's 70.
The car you drive is a philosophy in motion. It tells the world if you are building wealth or just performing it.
Most millionaires were wealthy long before they had money because they chose to live below their means.
You might already earn enough to be rich. You just might be driving your fortune instead of investing it.
Once you move the big boulder of the car payment, the other habits follow. You see money differently.
You see the traps in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. The car is the 30s trap. If you avoid it, you win the game.
Margaret saw the map, Tyler saw the parking lot. One perspective creates a legacy, the other creates an impression.
Make sure you subscribe to Winds of Thought for more deep dives into the habits of the truly wealthy.
Drop a like if this changed your perspective. The parking lot forgets your car tomorrow, but your bank account remembers your choices forever.